live via the Internet. Welcome to ISP Radio, your weekly source for ISP-related news, events, and interviews with industry experts. If you deliver Internet via fiber optic, wireless, coax, or any other way, you're in the right place. Chat live with us weekly via ispradio.com every Wednesday at 11 a.m. Central Time. And now a brief word from our sponsors. Link Technology, providing ISP consulting, support, and hardware for wireless ISPs. TowerCoverage.com, providing online RF coverage maps. Mimosa Networks, providing high-density, high-bandwidth radio products. Advanced LLC, providing retail and wholesale advanced communication services by matching providers with your bandwidth needs. And by Sitel, providing reliability in surge suppression. And now your host for ISP Radio, Steve Grabiel and Dennis Burgett.
Hey, welcome to another edition of ISP Radio. Boy, what's been going on? Yesterday I was on our tower on the crest. It was cold. The wind was blowing, and my toes got numb, and my fingers were numb, and I wasn't successful. That's such a bummer. Putting in a SAF link for 400 megs, and still struggling a little bit with it, but I'm sure we'll get through it. And today here, it's in New Mexico, where I'm broadcasting from. We got, looks like a storm coming in where they say we're going to get 12 inches to 15 inches. Hadn't started snowing yet, but it's coming. Dennis, what's it like out where you're at?
Well, I'll tell you what, it's actually quite nice. Over the past couple of weeks, we've had some pretty nice weather. It's still pretty cold. We don't have anything scheduled in for major snow, and 12 inches of snow is more snow than I want to see at one time, typically. But it's so far being pretty nice here.
I'll take the snow over the lightning any day.
Yeah, you know, lightning doesn't scare me anymore. How's that?
Well, I hope to get to that position of peace that you found.
You know,
so, Dennis, any news out there that is going on this week?
Oh, yeah, we got tons and tons of stuff. So let's get started here. So we have a couple things. So first off, in a speech President Obama gave a few months ago, he urged the FCC to reclassify Internet service providers under Title II of the Telecommunications Act. Now, following this, during the Consumer Electronics Show, the FCC chairman, Wheeler, basically promised that he'd be moving towards this type of reclassification of Internet providers. Back in May, a NPRM, or Notice of Proposed Rulemaking, came out, and WISPA filed comments both in July and reply comments in September in an effort to either prevent or at least allow small business exclusions to the Title II requirements. Now, on or before February 5th, the chairman has indicated that he's going to circulate a report and order to the other commissioners and then put it to a vote on the February 26th meeting. Now, we don't know if there's going to be any type of small business exclusion or any other details. We're hoping to get a FCC, maybe Steve Cran or somebody on our show right after February 5th to kind of go over that report and order and hopefully find out what they're really going to be voting on. But again, they're not going to be voting till February 26th to find out what the FCC is actually going to do. But of course, we'll keep everybody up to date as soon as we get information. Now, during last night's State of the Union address, President Obama mentioned the Internet several times, citing that it would build jobs and wishes to extend its reach. Here's what President Obama had to say during the State of the Union.
I intend to protect a free and open Internet, extend its reach to every classroom in every community, and help folks build the fastest networks so that the next generation of digital innovators and entrepreneurs have the platform to keep reshaping our world.
Now, with that, the State of Union address was strikingly devoid of comments on community internet and internet reclassification, which we really expected given several other presentations and other speeches that he'd done in a few weeks ago. In Cedar Falls, Iowa, he announced steps to get access to faster and more affordable broadband. A number of points were given there, specifically calling an end to laws that harm broadband service competition, a new initiative to support community broadband projects, a new grant and loan opportunities for rural broadband providers, and removing regulatory barriers and improving investment incentives were all things that were talked about during that Cedar Falls, Iowa speech, but pretty much was completely left out of the State of the Union. It was very, very simple. Now, in very important news for other people, especially people up in Utah, the TDWR, or Terminal Doppler Weather Radar site up in Utah, has been receiving interference over the past few weeks. Now, while we can't go into a whole lot of details, and the details are being slow to come out as well, I'm sure in the next week or two we will find out exactly what's going on. The FCC has been on site working to track down that interference. Therefore, we want to make sure and remind everybody to check your radios and frequencies in relation to the known TDWR systems in the U.S. There are very heavy fines for operators running radios that cause harmful interference to these sites. So make sure you know where they are, make sure you know what frequencies they are, and pretty much try to avoid those if at all possible. Now, there's a few upcoming events coming out. We have the Animal Farm 9 show in Salt Lake City, Utah. This will be held at the State Fair Park on February 4th and 5th. This show focuses primarily on the AF Mug user group that really consists of canopy-based wireless ISPs. The first big show, though, of 2015 is right around the corner. WISP America starts Monday, February 23rd, and runs till Thursday, the 26th. There are a number of training events prior and after the show as well. Now, this show by WISPA moves between cities each year, and this year will be hosted in my hometown of St. Louis, Missouri, at Union Station. This show, of course, is the precursor to the largest WISP show in the world, which is the WISPapalooza, typically hosted in Las Vegas. Now, with that said, we do have a few other things coming up on ISP Radio. We do have Patrick O'Leary with Telerad coming on January 28th. And currently scheduled in, we have Bill Sheffield of Billmax on February 11th. So lots of things going on, both with the FCC. Title II stuff is still not done. We still have things to do. We still have information and a vote coming up here in February 26th. So lots of very interesting information. Be sure to keep up on all that as well, and listen here for all those updates. Back to you, Steve.
Well, one of the things that I got, and we're fortunate, Dennis, that you're on the board of directors for WISPA, because I think that's primarily who listens to the show, but I got an email from WISPA saying that they're changing their billing structure and modifying some ways they operate. Can you go a little bit into that?
Well, basically what they have done, and this was actually prior to my term, but it's all a good thing. Basically what they're doing is they are changing the structure. Normally the WISPA members are going to be simply one price. Basically, your membership is one price, and that's it. With the new structure, based on a number of factors, mostly employees, etc., there will be a sliding tier structure for membership on those cases. And the goal of this has been two things. One is that there have been a number of WISPs that have been basically being bought up. And what we find is that in these particular instances is that the membership has been going down while the actual income hasn't been changing, because, of course, all these people are buying, getting bought up. So what they've done is they've changed it from the original annual dues of a strict fixed number, which starts only at $125 a year, up to based on your number of subscribers. So depending on your number of subscribers depends on what your annual dues will be. And that's in effect so that we can ensure that we have the funds to reply to comments, like with the Title II action. This is a big one. I mean, if WISPs become Title II regulated, so if we become under Title II of the Telecommunications Act, we're going to have reporting requirements. We're going to have a lot of requirements that's going to be fairly significant. It's going to add a significant cost to small WISPs and even larger WISPs. So the goal here is to be able to lobby against that, to be able to file comments, to tell the FCC, hey, we can't do this. The small membership, the small members, and even the big members are going to incur a substantial cost whenever that happens, or if that happens. So here's what we need to do to continue innovation, continue WISP's that start up, so startup wireless ISPs. Here's what we need to do to prevent this rule or this rulemaking from becoming an incumbents to wireless ISPs. And that's the whole ideal with WISPA, is to get that lobbying effort. And of course we go to other things too. We have new frequencies, we have 3650 band, TV white space band, all that kind of good stuff to help wireless ISPs out in the U.S.
Right, so basically they're changing this up to help pay for the good fight.
Yeah, I mean, and I'll be honest with you, in the past 2 years, there have been so many actions, so many things going on both with the FCC and in the legislature compared to even the past 5 years prior to that. All of a sudden, broadband is this big word. I mean, President Obama is sitting here talking about it in the State of the Union. He is going out of his way to make sure communities get high-speed internet. And what we're seeing is that we're actually doing more work, and the subscribers, the total income is going down because people are, being bought out, etc. So that's the goal. We have to have the funds to be able to fight the good fight. We have to have the funds to be able to pay these lobbyists and pay these guys to go up there and get the job done. And protect us, and protect what we've worked so hard for over the past number of years.
Right. Well, that's coming down the pike. If you hadn't received your email about that, I think there was some instructions that you had to log in and modify or update your profile in the WISP membership list. And I've got to go find that email and do my due diligence as well.
There you go.
Well, on today's show, we have all things voice over IP. Today we have on the show Anand Butch with NetSapiens. Anand, you there?
I am. Thanks, Steve.
You bet. Well, thank you for being on the show to tell us all about NetSapiens and what you guys do in the VoIP field. Can you give us a brief history about NetSapiens and where you came from and where you're at?
Sure, absolutely. We, as a company, started back in 2002. Our backgrounds, if you will, myself and the senior team here at the company have always been in what I call kind of the voice over data world. In our prior lives, we were building hardware for voice over frame relay, voice over IP, voice over TDM networks back when hardware was that much more expensive, if you will, and IP was not as prevalent. So more for corporate networks, for government networks, things of that nature. In 2002, we chose to really kind of start focusing on the application space and the smaller service provider space, and launched NetSapiens with the vision in mind to go after the smaller and medium-sized service providers in the market with really kind of a universal application platform. So from about 2002 to 2006, if you will, we were sort of in stealth mode, for lack of a better term. We were working with our local parties over here, if you will, to get the platform out and tested. We were working on R&D specifically for the first 3 or 4 years, and then come 2006, 2007, we really launched commercially beyond our circle of influence with our Snap solution that is widely deployed today. And that solution, if you will, has been really the cornerstone of the growth that we've seen from 2006 to around end of 2006, 2007, going into where we are now.
Mm-hmm. So where you're at now, before the show, you mentioned some growth figures. How are you guys doing?
So in general, from year to year, we grow at the rate of 20 to 30%, both in the form of revenue and also in the form of service providers that we are adding. We are typically adding anywhere from 1 to 2 new service providers every month. I won't go into the details of where and when and how many that we have, being a private company, but we have a wide deployment base, primarily here in the United States, but we have recently now started putting some deployments internationally, really from word of mouth, Australia, New Zealand, UK, so on and so forth.
Right. So let's delve into the product here. So tell us a little bit about the product, how it makes an ISP some money, how it helps out ISPs. What's the process and procedure about setting up, and what can an ISP expect? Sure.
So in very simplistic terms, we're a software company. So what we do is we help an ISP roll their own facilities-based platform. Whether you're a small ISP, regional ISP, with a single data center, or a couple of data centers in a small region, or multiple data centers, or a larger ISP across multiple regions, what we do in essence is we come in, we help you design what your services are, whether they're residential services that you want to offer, business services, whether they are enhanced hosted PBX services, call center services. Depending on the design and the feature and the scale and the subscriber base that you want to go after, we'll recommend a number of servers, if you will. The client themselves will procure those servers. We will then remote install the software that goes on those servers. We will train and teach the client how to operate the platform. And in many cases, we'll have clients that have either worked with a wholesale service provider before and have white labeled the solution, and now they want to roll their own, and so they come to us and say we're ready to roll our own. Or somebody that may have put, let's say, for example, an Asterisk platform in place, which is a very popular open source solution, as many ISPs are aware of, that have basically outgrown the ability to take that Asterisk platform and be able to scale it beyond just some number of subscribers, and to be able to multi-tenant that solution and slice that solution so that they can offer it to multiple customers. So in essence, what they will do is they'll come to us, we will size and scale it, we will recommend a number of servers, we'll remote install those servers, and it could be anywhere from a small footprint of 3 1U servers in one data center to multiple 1U servers across multiple data centers, which can be geo-distributed and highly available. So really depending on the scale and size. And the key thing that I wanted to point out here is that the ability to scale down as much as scale up. Our goal here is to really have one universal platform that applies for a small ISP, of which we have a number of clients, to anything to a large CLEC, if you will, that has both data and voice offerings and multiple locations. So it's a platform that can scale down as well as scale up.
So something that's of interest, you are a software company, so if I come to you and say, hey, I want to offer my own voice over IP product, and I'm looking at your platform, basically it's I go buy the box, I set it up to where you can remote into it, you drop the software on it, and then we go buy phones and start adding customers. Is that basically at a 30,000 foot level?
Yeah, at a very high level view, that's correct. You put the server hardware in, it's off the shelf hardware, industry standard hardened hardware, Dell, HP, IBM, call it what you will. You put those servers in place, and then we'll remote down the software, train you, and you pick the devices that you want to run with. We interoperate with a host of best of breed devices, Polycom, Yealink, Cisco, you name it.
Perfect. So, yeah, from a 30,000 foot level, and talking to an ISP such as myself, it sounds like a pretty easy thing going forward. Let's talk about contracts and licenses. And you mentioned some of the equipment. I was wanting to delve into the telephone equipment, but you kind of went into that. But what are the terms and conditions that you guys offer?
So typically the models that we have, everything is facilities-based, but we offer 2 operating models. You can actually take a capital expense model, if you will, where you invest in the license, you purchase the license, and then you pay a monthly licensing maintenance and support fee, if you will, or you can actually build that all into a subscription and do it on a monthly basis. So you can have the best of both worlds depending on where you want to enter into the platform. And then we have what we call our deployment and operations agreement that basically define the terms and conditions by which we train you, how you can access our support team. We have a large support team here in San Diego that you have access to, a number of experts in the team, plus engineers behind that, obviously, for more complex issues. But it becomes really a managed solution in that respect, And so whether you decide to purchase a license or subscribe to the license, the operating model is exactly the same. The support structure is exactly the same. So
from my standpoint, what is like a typical charge to the end user for the phone setup, voice over IP through NetSapiens, on a per month or per phone, and what could be the anticipated revenue for the ISP?
So I think I'll answer that a few different ways. Obviously, there's a number of different proxies that we see out in the marketplace. The biggest name proxies that you see that our clients are competing with are folks like RingCentral or Packet8 on the business services side, and then folks like Vonage on the residential side. Mm-hmm. And so, those are kind of the typical prices that you see. However, what our service provider clients are able to do above and beyond that is because they own the last mile, because they own the relationship with the subscriber, they're able to do things like add a premium to those prices, right? If you go to a Packet8, for example, you're looking at an all-in price of anywhere from $25 to $50 per seat per month, depending on the different business features that they have. If you go to somebody like a Vonage, you may be in the $10 to $20 range for residential services. But once again, those are over-the-top services, over-the-top where you're bringing your own broadband. For clients, our clients, in majority, have the ability to bring in the whole package. They bring in the internet. They bring in the service. They bring in the service and support. They bring in maybe a slight variation on a service that's not offered in their region by the incumbent or the larger provider. And that's one of the things our platform provides. So what I say is that you look at the proxies in the market and you're able to charge a premium because you're offering a better quality product, if you will.
Okay. Dennis, you before the show had a question about where's the hop off onto the public switch telephone network.
Right. Well, many different VoIP offerings. It all really depends on your size and your scale. It also depends on your locality, because sometimes that is a major factor. But whenever we get into VoIP, the specific questions are, we put in a VoIP server, and in this case running the NetSapiens software, and we can have two options to get the calls to the endpoints. One of those calls, or one of those ways, is SIP trunking. In other words, we sit there and take the call, it hits your server, and then it relays through that server to a trunk provider, which that trunk provider then gets it to the PSTN network, or the traditional telephone network. The other option, though, is to also drop in PRIs or other types of local services that basically allow you to drop calls directly from the VoIP system to the PSTN yourself. Now, I have seen wireless ISPs and ISPs do this both ways. It really comes down to volume. If you don't have a whole lot of volume, usually the SIP trunking is a less expensive option. I have seen other providers, though, with very significant volume, do all SIP trunking still. So whenever we were talking earlier, obviously your software will support both methods, either dropping to the PSTN directly from the servers or SIP trunking it back out to the internet, correct?
Yeah, that's correct. And actually, to your point, Dennis, what we see both being done over the years. We're obviously definitely seeing much more of a push towards pure SIP trunking, IP handoffs, and that's for a couple of reasons. One, the technology and the service providers are getting that much more mature. Obviously, the backhaul connections, if you will, are also that much more mature, and so all of the providers, including the tier ones that ultimately you hop off onto, are also building their infrastructure out based on this. So not only is it just a better product, the costs are coming down. The other piece to look at is to your point, the transport cost is dropping so dramatically that really putting in hardware becomes a really case-by-case thing. And what I mean by hardware is, do I want to bring in a PRI? Do I want to bring in an SS7 connection and put it into a gateway? That becomes pretty specialized now in the applications that we see, simply because the transport cost is becoming so low. And what I mean by transport cost is the cost to terminate a call over an IP connection now has dropped domestic rates have dropped and they continue to drop, that really there's not a tremendous amount of value unless you have a lot of volume or you have a specialized need. For example, you may be in a region where you just can't get phone numbers from a wholesale provider because it's in a very, and many WISPs will face this, right, where you're in a very rural part of the nation, and the only person you can get phone numbers from is the local incumbent. And so in that case, you may have to build a business case to put in a piece of hardware to get access to those phone numbers. But more and more what we're seeing is that the focus is being put on the margins that can be made from applications and the feature set and the productivity tool set that you offer to your end user versus just strictly the cost of minutes, right? People are doing this less and less for just saving cost, and they use that as an entry point into the market, but rather now they're focusing on, hey, what other value-added services that can I offer on top of just cost savings?
Yeah, we get a lot of wireless ISPs that what we find is delivering consumer VoIP, so residential or business, it doesn't matter, is really not super profitable. I mean, you can make money off of it, but it really comes down to a scale thing. You have to, if you have 1,000 customers, WISP customers, then you want to get a certain penetration of that to get your VoIP product. What we really find where you can get extra money from or extra income is providing the business solutions. So instead of, hey, I'm going to provide you with 3 phone lines per se, we're going to provide you with 8 phones or 10 phones. Each phone has an associated cost. We don't care about the total number of simultaneous calls, but what we want to do is we want to give you the product and the system that gives you the IVR, that gives you remote paging, that gives you all the features that you need to connect many offices, remote buildings, etc., without even putting a piece of hardware in your building. And I'm talking about small, medium-sized businesses. And we can do that as the ISP. We can do that for you for a monthly charge based on the number of phones, not necessarily based on the number of minutes or the number of phone lines. And we see that quite a bit. Let me go back to your platform, and I'm just going to ask this question because I think it's very relevant. When we look at your platform and your specific hardware, your specific software, in relation to common other software applications, so we have things like Asterisk and Trixbox, etc., that are basically software-based phone systems. I know you guys definitely have other features, especially with the cut and dry and the cutting of multiple servers or allowing multiple systems to interact with each other, failover, etc. What feature set do you really basically go above and beyond whenever we look at one of these prepackaged, quote, phone systems versus your software that will give us all the extras? What extras and what really cool features would you like to highlight here and say, hey, this is why you come to NetSapiens, because we have these really nifty things that make it work extremely well?
Sure. So let me touch on that. One thing is that the beauty of the platform is the power that we provide with the variety of different applications. The way we've built the platform is so that you as a service provider, as an ISP, can go in there and pick and choose whether it's a contact center function, right? So contact center functionality for inbound call centers, click to call from within the platform, the ability to record and monitor for, a call that's coming in, whether you're a call center supervisor or a contact center or a contact center user. You want the ability to, in a very agile fashion, have control over that call. So our user portals, our end user portals, which are actually multi-role, it can go anywhere from an end user, a contact center agent, to a call center supervisor, to an office manager, give you a tremendous amount of flexibility to pick and choose what your call flow needs to be. So instead of just having an out of the box auto attendant feature, you can actually go in there and visually program your auto attendant and say, okay, if somebody's going to go in and if somebody's going to go in and decide that their business needs to run with 3 departments and 3 call trees, they can go and do that, and you can sell that as a service provider. So the user experience in itself is probably the biggest and stickiest factor that we see with our clients, and not so much from the standpoint of a killer app, to use a overused term, but the ability to allow our clients to go find that killer app because their clients are asking them for as much customization as they can manage. So contact center, going back to that, what you normally see with platforms in the market today is that when you're going to a small business or a enterprise, they're having to go buy platforms for monolithic functions. So they may have a platform for a PBX, and they may have a platform for a contact center. What we've been able to do is basically put all of that into one unified experience, and then let the client decide what features that they want to access. And that's probably been our biggest, if you will, highest traction that we've had over the last year, is the fact that our service providers are finding, and our end users of our service providers are finding, they don't have to go and buy multiple different pieces of software to manage all aspects of their business, not just their day-to-day inbound and outbound calling, but also their customer service aspects of the business.
So here's a question Dennis probably knows, but I'm just an ISP that doesn't know a whole lot about SIP trucking, all that stuff. How does and does NetSapiens help the end user, being the ISP, in obtaining the telephone numbers that they're able to hand out?
So a couple things there. For clarification, we ourselves are not a service provider. We partner and interoperate with just about all of the best-of-breed service providers that you can think of. So when it comes to certain regions or certain service providers, we can give you a list of service providers that we work with. And ultimately, it's the service provider that will dictate what numbers are available to you as an ISP.
Okay. So like in my area, the incumbent is CenturyLink. You would be communicating with them to get me a block of 500 numbers or what have you.
Yeah, so typically what will happen with somebody like a CenturyLink is there are other aggregators that are in the market that will aggregate CenturyLink and other larger providers, and we've done integration with that provider. You would get a contract with that particular service provider, and what they would be able to do is give you a list of phone numbers that are available in your area. We would then ultimately do the testing and interoperability between the platform, the NetSapiens platform, and that particular aggregator that you choose, and then we go from there.
Right. Another thing, looking at it from being an ISP myself, say I want to sign up with your system, and it comes down to cost and profit. What is, say I've got 450, 500 subscribers, okay? And say I choose to go with the NetSapiens solution. What for that size of application? What's the out-of-pocket expense that an ISP would expect to have to pay to get into this market? What's the how much money could they derive from adding this application to their internet offering?
Sure. So once again, I think the models that I've seen across the board is, to Dennis's point from earlier, the residential side does not have much margin in it. However, I have seen folks successfully make anywhere from $6 to $8 per user in just pure margin. Okay. In that area, really where the margin comes into play is really on the business services and the business features. Right. What we've seen successfully happen is sometimes you'll see somebody that goes out and finds you may have a tenant or an anchor tenant, if you will, that you can go to and say, I'm looking to launch a voice over IP service. What kind of services can I offer you? And typically what we found is that it's not so much how many subscribers do I get to on the business side. It's, one or two businesses or anchor tenants allow you to get into the business and justify either the capital expense or the operating expense to make it profitable, and then thereafter you can scale beyond that. Mm-hmm. And the sizes, the size of those businesses may be a 10 to 20 person business. 2 10 to 20 person businesses, and as long as you're offering them enhanced services, contact center functionality, auto attendance, IVRs, as Dennis pointed out, there's a lot of value to be had there. Plus, we have some clients that are looking to either also make some margins. You brought up phone manufacturers earlier. Phone manufacturers are also incentivizing a lot of ISPs to push equipment out. So through the distributorship, there are a number of our providers that are now also packaging in hardware, for example, and making some margin points on the hardware itself and offering it as a fully managed service and a lease plan and things of that nature. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And you talk about this is really great for businesses. From my standpoint, if I go to CenturyLink and ordered up 3 telephone lines and run it into a PBX, I'm talking $300-400. Well, probably $200, $300 for just the lines, the POTS lines, and the solutions that voice over IP for businesses make a tremendous value because roughly I'm seeing $35 per phone with more than 3 lines. So if I have four phones, I've got 4 lines. So
that's correct. Yeah,
and you're paying a lot less for the total service for a business as opposed to paying for those tariffed POTS lines.
And the bundling gives you a lot of room to move, and we see that happen in a lot of the regional areas where somebody may have a legacy PBX with, as you said, an incumbent connection, and step one is just the cost savings you get from removing those POTS lines.
Right.
So that becomes kind of the step one of incremental margins, if you will, or cost savings, and then you go to applications thereafter.
Right. Dennis, you had a question?
Well, yeah, I just kind of want to hop in here, and because I know we have some customers or some people, listeners, I should rephrase that really don't know the whole VoIP world and how it really works. And I'd like to kind of just touch base on that for a second. What we find is, again, on residential VoIP, as he said, it's maybe $6 to $10 a line, and that's just simply because you're charging XYZ, and on average your minute cost is XYZ, and that doesn't really include a whole lot of hardware, etc. But whenever we get into the business world, all of a sudden it becomes extremely profitable. You go to, in our case, Southwestern Bell, and you say, hey, I need 5 phone lines. Well, now you're at 5 phone lines, so just figure $70 a line. Okay, you do the math on that real quick. So 5 by 70 is, you got $350 just in phone lines. Now you have to have a phone system. You have to have phones in the phone system. A local business with 12 extensions was quoted almost $8,000 for a phone system that supported 8 phone lines and their extensions and paging. And the example would be is you come in and you give them a customer portal page in which they can go in there, they can change their own IVR, they can change their own menu flow, they can set up their own call queues, they can set up all that. And then what you do is you turn around and you go, okay, for those 12 phones, since you have 12 extensions, I'm going to charge you $35 an extension, so $420 a month. But with that, you get one phone number. We'll just port your number over, and we don't care if you have 12 phones. You can do 12 calls. We don't care about that because it's all a per minute thing. Since you're charging a premium, $35 a phone, most likely they're not going to go over some type of minutes that would put you in the black. But the difference is now you're delivering the phones, you're delivering everything that they need in a turnkey solution. They're not paying $8,000 out of pocket. They're paying maybe, let's say, 150 times your 12 phones, so 1,800. In some cases, you may incentivize the phones. I know some providers that say, as long as you have service with us, you will have a phone. In other words, your phone blows up, they come replace it. or they ship you a new one, whatever the case is. But we're seeing VoIP phones getting down in cost considerably. I know Ubiquiti has their Unify phone, beautiful Android phone for $150. Okay, I know there are phones even cheaper than that or less expensive, and all of a sudden you get into now you're getting the monthly reoccurring. This is the big thing, monthly reoccurring for your business. That's what your business is based off. If you're running an ISP, your business is based off monthly reoccurring. And once you've paid for those phones, now you have a customer that can sit there, oh, I need to change, we're not going to be open, so I need to change it to the closed greeting. Go to your control panel, and I'm assuming NetSapiens will be able to allow the customer to do that, correct, with that software? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, I mean, you'll be able to go, all they do is go to their control panel, they make their changes as they wish. You don't have to do anything, and that's the advantage of the NetSapiens platform. I have used other platforms, and it's the platform is really a management platform. It's not really a user control panel system. It's not really a system that's really designed to be used by many people. Specifically in that aspect where you can go in and change call routing, change IVRs, etc. If you just have one business with one phone system like Asterisk, hey, it works fine. But the goal here is scalability. You wish to scale your servers up. You wish to have redundancy. And as you scale up, I'm just curious, what's the average number of simultaneous calls and connected extensions, two majorly different things, for those that don't know, on most of the servers that you guys have?
Well, so let me maybe answer that in a slightly different way, in a couple of different metrics. We have service providers that have in the thousands. We have service providers that have in the tens of thousands. But from a pure scale perspective, you can easily get 10 to 20,000 devices, if you will, registered to 3 to 4 servers. Easily. And then you're talking about scaling, and typically what we recommend is that you get all the way up to 1,000 concurrent calls on some commodity hardware, and then at some point it's not so much how many calls you're running on one piece of hardware, it's what makes sense to provide the reliability. Do you start load balancing across multiple servers? So from our technology, if you will, the roadblock is not so much the hardware anymore, right? It's how do you want to design your network for the best possible reliability? We have a lot of scale built into the platform that can, the scale is virtually limitless.
Gotcha. And I guess my last portion of this then is still going back to NetSapiens. You always mention 3 servers.
Yes.
And my first thought is this: most of the time when we build redundant applications, etc., in past lives, it's always pairs. So you have a pair of load balancers, you have a pair of database servers, you have a pair of web servers, and that would be your redundancy per se. Why do you say 3?
So that's a great question, Dennis. The reason I said 3, and thanks for asking the question, is we have modules in the platform that need to be installed in separate servers for a variety of reasons. So the reason I say 3 is our very smallest recommended installations are typically 3. You have a pair of redundant servers that are doing the core processing, and then you can have a single server for, let's say, provisioning, right? So, and we have a device provisioning platform that is agnostic to the manufacturer, and manufacturers, as you know, having experienced yourself, is that all the different devices have different methods by which to provision their phones, whether it's HTTP, TFTP, FTP. So we build those interfaces into the provisioning platform. And so for security reasons, you want that provisioning platform to be separate, if you will, from the core engine. So that's where the 3 comes. One is a provisioning server, and then the other 2, if you will, are a redundant core switch is active and backup. Sure.
Okay, so it's active backup. So you don't run load balancing right away in most cases.
Yeah. So we have two flavors of today. We have 2 flavors of high availability. We can run in an active backup mode, or we can run in an active mode. It really depends on the installation. and what the objectives are. So, for example, if you're running our NShare technology, which does our geo distribution across multiple locations, is an active functionality, because you may have 2 or 3 servers being managed as one cluster over 3 physical different data centers. Does that make sense?
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. I was just curious because I do know a number of customers. I was just thinking of a number of my customers that could be beneficial, that could use the software and be more beneficial. Because I'll be honest with you, the asterisks in other commodity software like that, open source software, the scalability across multiple servers as well as redundancy is probably one of the hardest things to actually, quote, get working. In many cases. I mean, it's really easy to have an active and backup with a backup file. You have take the backup file, drop it on another server, restore it, and you're happy. But that doesn't give you the call reliability that most people are going to need in those situations.
That's correct, and actually that's where we see most of the folks that have a lot of experience on the VoIP side that are the smaller ISPs that have rolled their own asterisks. Or rolled their own open source platforms, are usually coming to us saying that, okay, we're at a point where we need better scale, we need better redundancy, we don't want to be the developer, right? We want to focus on services, we want to focus, and even if they have development resources or engineering talent on board, the focus really should be focusing that engineering and development talent on, end-user-facing applications. Take a NetSapiens platform, take another platform, whatever it may be, leverage that platform with your development resources using the API, or come up with some applications that you can add value with. Don't worry so much about the plumbing and the redundancy and the core architecture of your VoIP infrastructure. Leave that to somebody like NetSapiens.
Focus on your moneymaker.
That's right, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, Steve, I think we're getting towards the end of the show. I definitely want to know, how can, if a customer is interested in getting into VoIP, or if they already have VoIP servers and they wish to get into that scalability and reliability, what's the best way for them to contact you? Website, phone number, all that kind of good stuff.
Yeah, so the easiest thing to do is to shoot an email to sales@netsapiens.com. We can also, there's a contact form on the website also at www.netsapiens.com. We'll also obviously be at the WISP show here coming up in St. Louis, WISP America. So you can see us there. And then usually what we do is that we will go through a demonstration. We'll get our sales team and our sales engineering team on the line, and we'll go through a full-fledged demo. It's about an hour-long demonstration. And then you can ask even more detailed questions at that point for anybody that's interested.
Well, you bring up a good point, and I'm glad that you told us how to get a hold of you. I just lost my train of thought. Anyways, I want to thank Anand Butch with NetSapiens, and that's NetSapiens. So that's plural. That's who you get in contact with if you want to, if you're dealing with scalability problems with your voice over IP. NetSapiens is probably the folks you need to go to. And with that, I think we will wrap the show up.
Actually, I got one more question.
Go ahead, Dennis. Go ahead, please.
Where did the name come from? There has to be a story behind the name. I don't know why, but it sounds like there should be.
There's a story. It's a play on word, right? If you look at what it really points to is the intelligence that is growing within the network, right? So a NetSapien, if you will, is the evolution, right? It's the next, wise being on the net, so to speak, right? So we're all becoming NetSapiens, and so that is really the play on words. And that's where the name comes from.
Always interesting to hear that. Sometimes there's some really wild stories where they come in, and sometimes there's, it's very straightforward. So I always like to ask that.
Steve, well thought up name, kind of like Bitlomat.
Yeah. I guess we really. Do you have any closing remarks, and we'll wrap it up?
No, I think thanks for having us. I appreciate the opportunity. Please do come find us at the shows. The other thing I wanted to just thank you guys for the work that you're doing and what WISP is doing. Always nice to see the growth that we've seen in the industry as a whole, and you guys are a part of it. So much appreciate the work.
You bet. Well, we appreciate you again for being on our show and telling us all about NetSapiens. Well, with that,
Thank
Dennis, you want to wrap it up?
Yep. Well, thanks for coming. We do have those few announcements. Let me pull up those one last time here just to make sure everybody knows what's going on with ISP Radio. Remember, looks like January 28th, which is next week, we're going to have Patrick Leary with Telerad. We're going to be talking about LTE technologies and LTE radios. There is some really, really good information. I've actually already talked with Patrick a number of times about their products, and there's some really nifty information in there that I think everybody here really should listen in. So make sure you listen in next week, again, January 28th. Same time, 11 a.m. Central on Wednesday. And then we also have Bill from Bill Max coming out on February 11th, and that is currently scheduled. But hopefully we will also have somebody from the FCC committee or the FCC committee chairperson from WISP, hopefully either on the 11th or the following week, to talk about that Title II stuff. That's really, really important and really important for everybody to get a handle on and to understand what's going on. With that said, Steve, last word.
Well, thanks for listening, and we just appreciate you guys listening in. And again, thanks to NetSapiens and Anand Butch. Have a great week.
Thank you for listening to ISP Radio. We hope you've gained new insights and additional wisdom in our industry as well as your business. Please remember to visit our show sponsors via the links on ispradio.com. If you're interested in becoming a show sponsor, contact us at sales@ispradio.com. Now go out there and push those packets as fast as you can. Good luck and Godspeed.